Hey guys, hope you're all doing fantastic and amazing. If you're wondering what I'm wearing and all, it's just because I'm cold. Got my hoodie on, my beanie. It is pretty cold. So today we're going to be reacting to my BJJ super fight that I had, and we're going to also be breaking it down. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so we're going to go play by play in a sense. I'm breaking down a few things. Firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Musti and Burak Abi and Barish for setting this up and providing a phenomenal show for me and like-minded athletes to go do what they got to do, you know, go perform on a platform like this, which is phenomenal. Now the commentator of my fight, Jimmy Crew. So if you don't want to hear me blab over whatever I'm saying and doing, check out the link below, and you can watch the full thing with just his mindset on it and his perspective. Alright guys, the overall feel and experience, it was really cool to perform on a stage like this because I've never performed in a jiu-jitsu match like this. I've always wanted to, but never have, and I finally got the chance to perform on an elevated stage that's with this much prestige. I got to perform on the last Sarman Challenger Games, which was phenomenal on an elevated stage, but this, they've taken it to a whole new level. Now let's get into the fight. So my opponent, a much heavier guy, when I was feeling him out in this process here, what I felt was static strength, guys. So people with my weight, I can move the arm when I push or pull. With this individual here, and I feel like individuals above 90, I feel like they've got static strength. So what I mean by that is that they're strong in the point where whenever I try to put force or make any movement, it's solid. It's super solid. So that was one thing that I was like, ooh, it's gonna be a little bit difficult, gonna have to manage my way around it. And shooting him for a takedown will be very dangerous because he'll just be boom, heavy and ready to sprawl. So here I'm trying to get myself openings, playing with the collar tie to make him come more upright. So when I shoot in, it'll be a lot more easier to get in. At the start, he's being relatively low, so it's a bit harder for me to shoot on the takedown. So here I did a little foot sweep, just to get him worried about it. Now at this point, funny enough, he pulls guard, which I didn't mind. That was preferred for me because, like I was explaining before, shooting him for a takedown will be very difficult on him. Now here, it's the thing that happened last time, and through experience. On the last Challenger Games, I came up an opponent named Siraj, and he had me in the knee shield for a lot of the time, and I've been working ever since that match on how to pass knee shield, what I should be doing. So as you can see, I'm trying to tie up the legs with my opposite hand and pin his knees together. And each time we go to a side section like this, if I don't have the knee cut, what I'll do is I'll bring his knees to the middle, bringing them together, and then I'll start my attack. So it's more of like a wrestler's pass, guys. That time, I have no idea what happened. I don't know how I flew, and I didn't know how high I flew. When I look back at the recordings, bro, I flew so high. I think I just overdid it. This one here, let's go back to that. Let's break it down slowly, this cartwheel pass, guys. I'm gonna move the mouse out the way. So he pulls guard. Here, I push on his forehead to get him to bait his weight backwards, but to come back in, because whenever you push against something, they're likely to resist back. So by pushing on his forehead, he resisted back and came a bit more forward, which is great. At this point, I started the beginning of my cartwheel pass. Now my right hand here, it's in a phenomenal spot, but what I wish I did differently was as I went halfway up to about 180 degrees, I wish I would have got my left hand on the back of his heel, because as I span, guys, that would have assisted me to pull Chase more, exposing his back, rather than landing up in either a disconnected position or landing back into the guard. If I pulled on the foot just a tad bit more, it would have allowed me to expose his back even more. So if I go bit by bit, so see how my hand's on the floor? Yeah, I'm using it for balance and to propel myself, but I needed it to be on the back of the heel. So I'm spinning, I land, and then I think about, oh crap, gotta put my hand there. So in this instance, it was okay because I circled my hips out and I sprawled heavy, but if I grabbed his heel and I pushed it down as I span, it would have exposed his back even more. So if I go slowly again, just bit by bit, sprawled heavy because I felt like he might have attacked my legs, and I'll let it play from here on out. So back to pinning the knees. So guys, if you look at my right hand here, I'm cupping the knee and I'm using my other hand to also cup either the calf or just below. What I wish I would have done here a little bit differently is if I applied more shoulder pressure, so my left shoulder, my right shoulder pressure, to pin his knees to the ground as I walked around. I was just holding it there in a sense and trying to cut the angle by pulling the leg across. Trying to go for my knee cuts again. He's using his knee shield again, but hopefully soon I should be bringing the knees back to the middle. Oh yes, another thing that I do. So I wedge my hand in the middle, guys, of an individual's leg. So I essentially create a post in between so that one leg can't go that way and one leg can't go this way. I'll touch base on this movement soon. So here he did feel strong, so I didn't want to overcommit. And being the stronger guy that he was, I knew anything that I did that was too good and too calculated would have costed me. Quick, nice little windscreen wiper, pinning his leg. From here, I guess I'm trying to apply the weight. Here, I brought the knees back into the middle. He's using his frames very well. I'm trying to get inside control of his biceps. I switch my hip here. So I'll pass and boom, clearing that knee line. So my right knee is ahead of Chase's knee in this particular instance, meaning that if he tries to retract his knee back to his chest, he can't because it's a block, allowing me to pass the guard at ease. Here, that wedge position. So right now that's a pretty weak wedge with my right arm, but essentially the more straight and solid I can get my fist to the ground, it makes Chase's left leg not be able to move backwards and his right leg not be able to move forwards, creating a complete wedge. So this is like a half wedge, I guess. In this instance, what I wish I would have done differently is I wish I would have spun around to the back and attacking that back, or potentially gone to the side control position. I guess the threat that I felt was that he had his hands around my left leg, so if I did go to spin, he would have turtled up. From there, I wanted to attack the back with like a half Barambolo, half Granby roll. That was my intentions with it, but my leg setup was incorrect, so I needed my left leg to be on the inside, not the right, hence why I didn't go for it. He was very strong and very well at framing me and getting his legs back, which is a phenomenal job by him. Here again, I believe I'm going to pin the knees back up to the center. Yes, boom, centering him up, putting the knees together, because guys, in that position there, it's a lot more harder to get your attacks off. When you're on your side, it's a lot more easier to attack and you can get your frames in and you're a lot more flexible. When you're in this position, you're a lot more better. So, a lot more better for me. Unless you're in the gi, gi is a little bit of a different context, but no gi, it's a lot more better. I tried a jumping knee cut there, which was not too bad. I believe I'm trying to, yes. So I'm trying to bring, with my opposite hand, his opposite leg across my body. So by bringing the opposite leg across my body, it allows me to pass a lot more easier. Using my weight, distributing my weight and base correctly. Now, I believe here is when I got stuck in the guard. If he closes up, yes. So this was pretty annoying because I was actually, so you'll see it in a sec, I tried to do a wrist trap behind his back, and I'm also using my elbows on the inner part of his thighs, guys. I'm trying to corky him in a sense, and it's really uncomfortable. And I was putting quite a lot of strength into it, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I was putting a lot of strength into it, but he was not budging, man. He had a very tight and a very defensive guard. The only thing I could have done that was different, I could have stacked him. So I could have done like a C cup in the underarms or put one hand across his face and on the chest and stacked, but I didn't want to do it because I didn't feel safe because he was very strong and I felt like I would have gotten swept if I did try to come up onto my feet. So what I'm trying to do, guys, with the wrist trap is I'm trying to push his hand to the ground, use my forehead and my weight to distribute towards his face so his ass comes up off the floor, and then I walk his body weight over his hands. But he was just very, very strong. Now in this point, I felt his guard open and I was going to do a quick sporadic escape. So a quick body lock pass, but I believe he recloses his guard and I was too late. So my mistake, I was trying to go for another knee cut. What I said before wasn't correct. Yeah, so see how I had my hands on his underarms momentarily? I was thinking about standing up and stacking him, but I didn't feel too safe. Working the inner part of the thigh elbows. He's doing a great job of controlling my wrists. Took a look at the time. Using my forearm into his chin so he's very uncomfortable, trying to force him to unlock the legs. My weight is nice and wide with my feet, evenly distributed, and I'm postured up very nicely. Working back to the inner part of the thigh, elbow corky pass, but he was just very strong. Now at this point, as soon as I felt that guard open at this point, because I wanted more action, I really wanted more action. I knew that this was my time to pass and make a change in pace. So here, I wanted to do non-stop movement. cutting the angles, trying to pass the knee line, going side to side, applying the pressure, consistent pressure, turning side to side, because I knew he wouldn't be able to keep up with me. As you can see there, let's rewind that. Here, I'm using, again, like I just explained before, my opposite hands against his opposite leg to drag it across to make it a lot more easier for me to pass. So in this instance, I'm using my right hand to grab the ankle, which is a great way of controlling. If I grab on the upper part of the calf, it's too thick, whereas the ankle area, I can grasp my arm around nicely. For example, see these Yodas here? Okay, if I grab around here, that's too thick, they're too big. But if I grab around the wrist area, I can get my fingers a lot more around easier. Can you see that? Yes. I keep the pressure and boom. That there is another thing that happened. Let me rewind that. So I copped a nice kick to the bridge of my nose, I think, or underneath my nose, and that made me bleed. It's the first time I bled in a jiu-jitsu match, to be honest. But watch out. Boom. That little bit of a knock made me bleed. We went into like a reverse 69 position. Bit awkward, I know. And here I'm like, oh, what the hell? I'm bleeding. And I'm just dropping onto the floor, but I didn't want to let it phase me because I knew he was getting tired and I was pretty fit, and I am pretty fit. I always train. I'm always staying fit. The ref stops it to check on me if I'm alright because he saw that I was touching my nose, and I'm like, nah man, let's go, because I knew he was tired. I wanted to keep the pace, I wanted to keep the pressure on him and keep him on the edge of his toes and do not let him rest. Here, I believe he was trying to attack my legs, but I wanted to sprawl out and keep my legs far away, but with a body lock pass type of thing, so keeping pressure on his hips. Here I'm going back to the pinning mechanism, so using my limbs to pin his limbs to the ground so he can't use them. Pushing the leg down, going back to that wedge, trying my knee line pass, so my knee is above his knee, which is great in this particular instance. I'm trying to get the frames away, trying to get a good grip so when I do go to pass, I know I would have it. Here is where I start the body lock pass. So at first I wanted to grab the ankle with my opposite hand, and now I'm starting the knee line pass. So you'll see in a second, I did a quick, nice knee line pass, but it was a bit more of an acrobatic one. So let's take a look at that one more time. Let's go bit by bit. Okay, so I tried to step over for the first one, nice and clean, just basic, using my knee as a way to balance and step over. Didn't get it that first time. Now I knew I needed to be acrobatic, so I used my toes, especially on my left one, to propel myself up and bridge my hips into him. As I bridge my hips into him, I come upwards, propelling up in upward motion, and then I use that momentum to get my leg over. Because that little amount of space that I created there is enough for me to get my leg over. So let's go slow, hopefully it plays. So boom, use that left foot to bridge my hips into him. He's obviously going to resist by pushing upwards with his left leg. That's fine. It gives me enough time to propel up a little bit with that little amount of space required, and I chuck my knee above him. Boom. Once I do that, I'll use my hands to assist me, my right hand here, to push his leg furthermore past my body. Boom, and then I get my second knee through. Once I get my knee through, I knew I was pretty good. Boom. And I'm staying nice and heavy here. What I wish I would have changed here is I went for a traditional body lock. I wish I would have got my right arm around underneath his chest, through and cupping his shoulder. That would have allowed me to get much more of a different type of outcome and a lot more of attacking outcome. But I kept the traditional body lock. So here it's very imperative that I've got double underhooks, guys. If I had both arms over or potentially a seatbelt, my weight would have been shifted above his head. Okay, so I probably would have been thrown off, or my weight would have been shoved significantly above his head. But because I've got both arms underneath, my forearms are underneath his underarms, it allows me to stay glued to him and allow me to put my weight a bit more further back. At this point, if you've seen Zabit, I forgot his name, Zabit from the UFC, some of the other individuals, I was trying to go for like a banana split, I don't know what it's called, knee bar, but I was trying to do it, but what I realized is this leg here, my right leg, I needed to get it lower on his calf and his foot area, but Chase did a good job of stepping that back, not allowing me to split his stance even more. I was genuinely pulling here, but he was very strong. I relaced it, and at this point I believe I'm trying to go for like a, not 100%, full Nelson in a sense. So I kept my gable grip and I wedged my forearm and my elbow on the back of his head here, forcing his head into his own nuts, making it super uncomfortable, forcing the roll. He gives up his knees because he doesn't like the pain, super uncomfortable. And at this point, thank you to Jason for giving the advice, but I'm listening to him here. He says to shift my weight back. I use my hand and I shift my weight back, making it harder for Chase to predict where I am and allow me to get greater control of him and better ability to attack. I look up and I see there's not a lot of time left. So I'm like, all right, let's try and attack. At this point, Jason says, flatten him out. I get my double unders, I bridge my hips in, and I get my heels to the sky. I get my arm in, but I didn't feel it deep enough, guys. I didn't feel it deep enough. I look up at the time and I see that there's 5 seconds left. Now in my mind, a quick thing happens. I can either punch my arm through and really force it and get like my forearm across his mouth like this, or on the bridge of his nose to fully force it, then chuck my other hand in. But I guess I didn't feel confident. What I did instead was, I'm like, all right, let me try and make this a bit cool. And I went for the armbar. So I go back to that full Nelson grip. I push his head down with my forearm. Chase just looking up at the time, I guess. But I'm using my forearm down on the back of his head so he doesn't fully posture up. In this meantime, as he's resisting and thinking about his head, I'm maneuvering my right leg to chuck it over and go for the armbar. Boom. Once I get it, you can fall forward, guys. You can fall forward from this position by getting my right leg underneath his chin. But being the bigger guy, I can go belly down armbar, but 9 times out of 10 from this position, I would have had to roll him to finish the armbar, and I didn't feel too confident. So instead, I did something that I don't really do too often. I sat back and used my body weight and kept the arm close to my chest as much as I could to finish the armbar. Boom. Now in this position here, I was thinking about the triangle really quick, but I'm like, nah, try and go for the armbar. I ripped his arm nicely with my right shin and I pulled it close to me. Boom. Then they called time. To be honest, could I have finished it? Maybe. Maybe he would have escaped. Maybe I would have finished it. Who knows? But that's what happened. I was pretty close to finishing. Overall, I did want a high pace, high impact match. The only part that slowed it down was that guard, but I was pretty happy. I did want to finish. There was a cash bonus and whatnot, which would have been cool to have. I was discussing with my brother, but it's not about that for me. It's about the experience. And to just perform on a show like this is just honestly crazy and so cool. As you can see, I'm all bloodied up, man. I'm all bloodied up. But yeah, then they interviewed me. I'll pause that. If you want to check the interview out, if you want to check the photos with Burak abi, be sure to go watch the full stream. Like I said, it's in the link in the bio, and I believe on the YouTube channel, on Sarman's YouTube channel, Burak abi's YouTube channel. They'll be releasing the super fights individually from there. So guys, other than that, this has been Kaan Husmek. I will be fighting a Muay Thai fight next week, a grappling fight the week after. Then from there, I'm going to go to Sydney in June, and I'm going to compete in 80cc, which I'm really keen for, which is my main thing that I'm focusing on for now. Then I'm going to fight in July to defend my welterweight belt, and that's what the agenda looks like for now, guys. That's what it looks like for now. I'm growing the team a lot more. The XFC team is going to be making noise, guys. I'm growing the kids class a lot more. The individuals that are doing the adults class, you guys are growing phenomenally. And you'll be hearing from not only me, but a lot more of the team breaking out, which is sick. Other than that, guys, I got a mukbang video coming out for you guys, which is phenomenal, with Chris, Eran, and Zoo. It's vibes. We talk about crazy stuff. But yeah, one more time, thank you to Burak abi, thank you to Barush, thank you to Musti for providing the opportunity. And if you want me to be on the next one, best believe you can hit me up and I'm down. Don't care about the weight, don't care about the skill, I'm down. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that. Us.